Okay, hello. Welcome to episode 5 of Shit I Make My Family Watch, a podcast where I make my family and friends watch crappy horror and sci fi movies so you don't have to. I'm your host, Desiree, and joining me this week is author Brian J. Smith. Hello, Brian.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Uh, this week, Brian and I will give you a detailed breakdown of the storyline of this piece of crap as best we can, and then rate it on the shit scale of 1 to 5. 1 being only a little shitty, 5 being the worst pile of crap that has ever been crapped on this planet. And today's piece of crap is Desert Shadows, released in 2022. And I thought originally it would be starring Mitch Pileggi, the guy from X-Files, so I got really excited, but he's not really starring in this one, I think.
Yeah,
We are going to spoil this movie, so if you want to watch it, stop watching this, go watch that, but I don't recommend it. So I'm just going to jump right in. I had a really hard time following exactly what this movie wanted the plot to be because, like you and I said previously, it really changed directions, like
yeah,
probably every other scene. I do know that there was the two brothers, Donnie and Eric, and they go hunting together in the beginning in remembrance of their dad who just passed away. And Eric is kind of an asshole and messes up Donnie's shot. He misses the deer. He gets all mad and he decides to walk away from his brother. So he finds a cave and immediately decides to walk into it. And then there's some sort of creature in there, and then he blacks out. And when he wakes up and comes out, his brother is nowhere to be found. Can't find his brother. And then somewhere in that, we find out that his brother is a drug abuser of some sort of through stupid flashbacks. That it was kind
yeah,
of a pointless, I thought, segue of the story. But then he starts diving into the area's conspiracy theories on monsters and like weird happenings. And he's got that wall with the little strings and the map. And I thought he was going to go for aliens, but I don't know. He kept saying a monster. So no one believes him. None of the bar patrons that he keeps yelling at. None of the there's an FBI profiler or policeman or something that's a friend of his brother's he keeps trying to talk to. He doesn't believe him either. The only person who believes him is this professor, which is the guy from X Files, Mitch Pileggi. And so he ends up going to the professor's classroom, which I don't know what he was teaching. I don't know if they ever said that.
they didn't.
It just seemed like a conspiracy theory class. It was really weird. I'm not. I tried to figure out what it could be, but I had nothing. It seemed like an X Files class, kind of
Yeah, because he
like.
was like, so whose blood is also on the wall? Whose blood was also found at the crime scene? You're like, why? Why is he teaching them this?
Well, and he kept going. You just got to have an open mind.
Yeah, it's got to have an open
Okay,
mind. It's like, okay, what kind of class is this? Because they didn't offer this when I was going to go to college.
sounds like a fun class, though.
It sounds like it probably the patients, if anything.
So Donnie goes to see the professor and pitches his idea that this creature is actually located in some sort of government facility in the hills, and he must have stumbled upon part of that when they were hunting. And the professor agrees with him and says he's going to call him when he has more information. And then it switches to a bunch of girls skinny dipping um, in a lake in the middle of Nevada, which, okay. And I have to say, the best line of the whole movie is when they all strip naked and they're like, titties, titties, titties.
Titties,
I'm like,
titties, titties,
why?
titties.
They were so excited for that. And that made me happy for them for just a second. But of course, that means they get killed, like
And then
immediately.
the one gets killed and they just stand there and scream.
Yeah, right. They have no sense of
You're like,
urgency.
and it was the lamest attempt at a scream.
I mean, did you see the CGI though? That's probably why. It was really rough.
Yeah,
So those girls obviously get killed, but you don't actually see them get eaten. You just see one girl get her head chopped off, which was okay, whatever. The professor calls Donnie because somehow he has an in on this and tells Donnie to go check it out before the cops even know about it.
yeah.
And then one of the students from the class like finds where Donnie lives and is like, you have to take me with you, which is kind of weird stalker behavior, but he decides to take her and they go to the place where the dead girls are. And then they find the headless girl, they find one in a cocoon, and then they found an eaten one that had some sort of gooey stuff on it. So they take a sample. That's yeah. I thought that for as poor as the CGI effects were, the actual cocoon thing they made was pretty neat.
It was.
But it seemed very like it didn't seem like it followed any sort of structure, like biological structure that made sense. Like it just looked cool, but it didn't make sense, I thought.
Because I've seen cocoons. I mean, I've watched. Who hasn't seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Right.
You know, those were pods. You know, and I remember an old Tales from the Crypt episode. If you remember the Tales from the Crypt TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you remember the one with, I think it's called, what the hell's that one called? It's got Bruce Payne and Michael Ironside where they go to Alaska to hunt bear, and they find out that all the children in the town are vampires and they got them hanging from cocoons and stuff like that. Those look more like those look more better cocoons than the ones in that movie did.
Yeah, well, but they weren't soft. They were like hard cocoons, but I don't know. It, like I said, biologically doesn't make sense, but that must not have been what they were going for. When they say cocoon, they mean that very loosely. They mean like a crunchy shell that has holes in it.
Yeah.
It's not really a cocoon. So they take a sample of the blue goo that they find mixed in with the remains of the lady who got eaten, and they bring it to the professor, who puts it under the microscope and says immediately that it's human DNA with some possible parasite, and it's trying to bond with the blood. Somehow he can tell that all immediately. And it needs to find a human host for breeding and survival. And then sends Donnie away. He's like, I just told you all this stuff. Now you got to get out of here.
Now you got to go get some sleep.
Right.
Which kind of tells you, kind of doing that Pie May from Kill Bill kind of thing on like,
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you wanting me to go get some sleep?
And he's all sad about it. But I'm not even tired. He's like a little kid. But then he shows him some sort of notebook he has that has the myth of what he believes this creature is. And there was like a real broad jump from the sample they had to this is this. You had to try to connect the dots there.
Yeah.
That's where the journal came in, where they said it was some sort of flesh-eating demon, or there was a drunk bar patron that made a reference to that. Yeah. This guy said it was something that lives deep beneath or in the depths of hell, and then during the solar eclipse it comes out. And they made up a stupid word for it. It was Baru Shakana Rakala.
Baru
for Baru. But like I even Googled all parts of that word. Literally every bit of it was made up, which was really disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of Latin to choose from. You should be able to come up with something.
Or you can just make up anything. I mean, you could probably take another monster from another movie and just say, well, it's this kind of right here. Like I don't mean to do this in the podcast, but my book, Consuming Darkness, that's not the creature's not an alien.
Right.
I got the idea from another movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in this book. I didn't have to okay, we're going to call it the Dugari. Yeah.
You don't have to like that. Yeah, you don't have to go. You can still base it in something that's sort of common knowledge and still have it be effectual, I think.
Yeah.
Donnie goes to drive somewhere. Oh, he's driving back from the professor's, and his trunk flies open, and a creature jumps over his car out of his trunk onto the hood of his car. And then he gets out and they kind of tussle, and then he shoots at him, but then he stares at him for a while, and you see his brother's face flashing through. And then
And
you
the
get the
costume
point.
looks so cheap, though.
Well, you could really see the like gaps,
Yeah,
obviously.
you can see
For the
like
eye.
the bags under his eyes, and I'm going,
Yeah. And he's staring at him and he's like, oh, this must be my brother somehow.
like you could just paint a mask. You know, John Carpenter took a William Shatner mask and spray painted it, and you know, it's one of the most iconic masks in horror movie history.
I think they just need to tape the edges down a little bit.
Yeah. I was
a little more work on that.
But then if you watch The Beastmaster and watch those winged devourers, if you watch real closely, they got the same thing going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't watched that one in a while. But I have to say I watched it for the ferrets, not for the monsters.
That scene at the altar scared me to death as a child. My grandma loved to wear moons.
Oh.
I had a nightmare where she went and gave me a hug. And her calf and her mumu started turning into those things that from the Beastmaster.
Oh.
Woke up in a cold sweat.
Now I'm gonna have to rewatch it because now I want to know what was so scary. I don't remember very much of that. Just the ferrets. Oh, I lost my spot. Oh, yeah. So he decides it's his brother, and then he goes back to the school, and the student who had followed him to his house tells him that the blood is manipulating the host, and then somehow Donnie believes that because of this, it's something that can be reversed. I'm not really sure how he gets to that conclusion. And then it's all you, man. You get to... It just gets messier from here.
It does. Because Morgan goes off and starts looking at the map and everything that he's got up on the wall, and kind of figure like, okay, this is probably going to be the part where they have them have sex, because you know how these monster movies are. People meet 5 minutes and it's like they haven't even known each other this fucking long. So,
not to mention she's probably like 18 and he's late 20s.
and I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, she's trying to like look in everything that he's got up on there, and then they go to the morgue. They end up at the morgue because they're like, okay, if these girls were killed, their bodies are probably at the morgue, and we'll be able to see what is going on, how this stuff is changing. So they sneak into the morgue, which kind of which befuddled me, because I'm thinking the guy's standing 3 feet away from the door. He's got a phone up to his face. You can't see their shadow. You're standing in front of an overhead light, and you cannot see someone's shadow.
He doesn't want to.
Walking past you, it's like, okay. That kind of like threw me off guard. And then they go down to the morgue, and they find that girl's cocoon after they pop the door open. They find that girl's body inside that cocoon. It starts to form, and the cocoon starts to tear. And I think she comes out not totally changed, but still infected.
Like, yeah, she looks weird, but not all the way over.
They kind of they interrupted her chrysalis stage, if you want to call it that. And of course, she attacks the guy that's Jagger's partner. He's got a guy with him, and he throws the guy in front of him at her. And the girl cuts his hand off, and the hand goes right through the agent's chest.
Yes, that scene was fun, but very like, what just happened?
You'd have to have a lot of force to put your hand through somebody's chest like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Billy Zane got away with it in Demon Knight because he was a demon. Okay. And she goes off and dies, and she's like, I know who this girl is. I know who it is. Her name is Rachel. And they start to kind of like put everything together, and somehow he comes to her apartment the very next morning, she's got a scratch on her back that hurts. So you're thinking, okay, at some point in time, she's going to turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually one of those times where it's like they wait till the end of the movie. Those two are having a happy ending, and boom, that probably would have been a better ending.
Probably.
And here she's kind of like trying to push past that and still help him. Eric and Jagger go off and they visit his brother's heroin house, his little shack where he gets high at. And they and Jagger shows them like, hey, this is where Eric's stuff was at when, the last time that we saw him. Because remember, there was a girl they found there in the cocoon. There was a girl inside of that house they found inside the house that was in the cocoon. And she, of course, they go off and they're trying to like dig up and say, okay, why did the professor lie? Because remember, he met them at the restaurant the very next morning when she found that scratch. Of course, Mitch Pileggi's up to a little more than what we know.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of figure out why he told him to go take a nap, and why he left Morgan by herself. And then Jagger ends up dying because he finds somebody following him and decides to follow him into a building, and he gets killed. And then here he starts digging up more on the professor, Mitch Pileggi, finds out that he has something to do with it. He was part of a secret government facility where, of course, first it was a flesh-eating demon. It was a demon that rose from the depths of hell during the solar eclipse.
Right.
It looks like an alien.
It looks like a bird slime. I don't even know.
Yeah. And now it was something that came from another dimension that they found and started to kind of toy with. And like, hey, we could probably, and, we could do something with this. One of the test subjects died. Government finds out, comes in, cleans him out. His reputation gets ruined. Of course, Pileggi, he has to have a new identity, lied about his position at the college. And he goes and sees one of the women who used to work with him, who used to work with Mitch Pileggi. And she's like, look, I can't help you because they'll kill me. Okay, I cannot tell you anything that happened there. They will kill me. So he goes to his car to drive away. Mitch Pileggi's in the back. He's like, just shut up and drive.
Very X-Files.
Takes him to the building. Sees his brother tied down to a gurney. And he's like, we got this thing from another dimension. We wanted to work on it, see if we could make possible. I think they were trying to clone it so they could use it as a secret weapon.
But they didn't even say what it did. Like,
yeah.
What was the props for?
Yeah.
What was so cool?
They didn't say, well, it was like, I think he mentioned like advanced DNA. I think he mentioned something about like, but that still doesn't.
It's very vague.
But that still doesn't say why you want to duplicate something like this.
Right. Yeah.
So you would kind of go off and be like, okay. But he's like, well, when we duplicated this, we wanted to find clean DNA. Well, since your brother was a fucking addict, his body started to react to it, and it reacted in a way that wasn't working. So then he decides to go off and run wild, and he decides to kill people. He decides to take people out.
Mm-hmm.
He deals with Mitch Pileggi leaves him there with the creature. He has to kill the creature because it's his brother. It's trying to kill him, so he ends up killing him. Mitch Pileggi drives off with the car, burns the car with all the evidence inside of it. And then Morgan turns while she's in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
which I kind of thought like you guys could have used that at the ending when they were kissing, and then boom, here she turns and kills him.
Right.
She ends up turning, killing that one guy. He tells her to run, which kind of like tells me like, why'd you tell her to run? What, you're going to track her down 10 minutes later, a year later? What?
Yeah, probably.
And then it's like a year later, Mitch Pileggi goes off to an insane asylum, and there's Eric inside of a straitjacket, inside of a rubber room, looking up at him. They meet eye to eye, and Mitch Pileggi smiles. And that's pretty much the end of the movie.
I don't know if I saw the end then, because I missed the last part I saw is when the girl was out in the parking lot and they tell her to run.
Yeah, he tells her
and
to
that's
run.
where mine stopped. Okay, so it ends where they're both in a mental institution?
Where Eric is in a mental institution. He's in a room with a straitjacket like this because they think he's delusional.
Is he still crazy. Looking like an alien? Kind of?
No. Eric is Donnie. I'm sorry, Eric. Donnie's fine. Donnie's his own self, but see, Donnie got arrested. They think he's crazy, so they throw his ass in a mental and a loony bin, and then they go off and they go, well, he's in here. So Mitch Pileggi goes off and visits him, and he looks in between the bars and sees him, and he just smiles and walks away. And I'm going, okay.
I wish I had seen the end of that because that gives it a 0.01% up in my book. Evil and the evil wins at the end. That's kind of fun.
But I don't think they ought to. They don't need to sequel this.
No,
they don't.
Not at all. I agree. No. What is your rating for this one? What do you give it on a 1 to 5? 1 being not that bad, 5 being the worst ever.
I'm gonna say 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 4 because of the CGI.
It was bad.
It looked like it was just bad. The dialogue was bad.
Yes.
They never explained to you why it was so precious for them to work on it.
There were a lot of leaps.
I mean,
like here.
If you go off and say, "Hey, we're gonna take this alien that from Roswell, and he can move things with his fingers. Mm-hmm. We're gonna take his DNA and we're gonna put it in these people so that we can weaponize them in case we go to war with Russia or North Korea. We can just, we can use them to win the war."
Right, that makes sense.
But they never said it just had advanced DNA. It could do this. It could, but you're still not telling me why you want to experiment with it.
Yeah, there was no purpose.
One big hole. You left that one gap open.
That's a pretty big one. Yeah, I thought that it was written. It had porno dialogue without the payoff. And I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 because I would rather pour lava into my eyeballs than watch that one more time. I think that is probably the worst one I've had that I have chosen.
To be honest, if I hadn't been drinking sweet tea at the time I watched this, I probably would have fallen asleep.
Yeah, it was a real winner. I actually, like I said, I had to watch it 3 times total. I did fall asleep the first time. I watched it again, and then I missed. If you look away, the leaps from one part of the storyline to the next were impossible to get back on track if you were not reading the dialogue. So I had to go back again and watch it, and I never again is it going to play on my TV because that was the worst, I think. So hopefully my next pick will be better. But now we're going to move on to the fun part where we get to ask you questions and you have to answer them. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. What is your favorite shitty movie? And tell us what you love about it.
Oh, favorite shitty movie. Oh man, there's a lot of them. I watched one recently. I don't want to say it's shitty. I'm gonna say it. I don't think House 2 Second Story is a shitty movie, but it's a little more on the comedic side, more like a dark comedy. It's not like a horror. It's not like a dark comedy horror like it was with the first House with William Katt. This one takes place in a different house, different plot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little like off kilter, like they open a door into a room and there's a jungle, there's dinosaurs. I'm not saying that's like my favorite. I would have to say the dumbest movie that I watched, and I know I'm probably going to hear some fire for this because I watched like 5 minutes of it and took it out of my VHS. I'd have to say was The Willies.
The Willies.
I could not keep it. It was an anthology. As soon as I saw the woman put her poodle in the microwave, out. Yeah.
Oh,
out, gone.
I think I've seen that one. I don't remember much except for that scene. So that actually segues into my next question was what was the worst movie you've ever seen?
The worst movie? I know I'm probably going to hear some slack from this, but I'm going to be honest. I did not care for Wolf Creek. I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Fair.
No. I was like, shoot this guy. Throw a can of chili at him. Do something. But then you're
not
like,
a fan of that one.
But then you're like, it's based on a true story. So I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't kill him.
I think they made a second one though.
Yeah.
So if it's based on a true story, I don't know how it has a sequel.
Yeah, I was like, hold on. That first one said based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
What the going on here?
They just decided to run with it.
Someone's lying here.
Okay, what kind of horror genre is your favorite?
I'd have to say supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much stuff that the supernatural can do to you to mess with your mind, to make you see things that aren't there, to make you... I think with supernatural, the ghosts have more of a... There's no limit to what they can do to toy with you. Okay? None at all. They can move things. They can be like, well, fine, I'm gonna change your Wi-Fi password.
That's clever.
I'm gonna rearrange your cups inside of your cupboard. You know?
That'd be a good thing for a ghost to do.
That's why, like, somebody asked, like, if you were a ghost, what's one thing that you would do to make people mad? Change the Wi-Fi password.
That would do it. Yeah. I think I would poke holes in all of their washer packs, like laundry soap packs and dishwasher packs, poke holes in all of them so they leak everywhere. Because nothing's worse than sticking your hand in that container and it's like gooey in there.
Yeah. Or moving furniture around.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind if they rearranged the furniture as long as they like vacuumed underneath. That would be okay with me.
You see, I know that my house is haunted because I sit up at like 4:00 in the morning and I hear footsteps.
Oh.
Okay. I literally hear things. I have to lock my bedroom door because it'll just open on its own.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, and the first thing that comes to me is, Mom, stop leaving. Leave my door alone. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, look, you can stay here, but don't cause any trouble. Don't hurt my brother's dogs. Don't hurt my brother and I. And don't knock anything over, okay?
You got to set boundaries.
Yeah. You be nice to me, I'll be nice to you. But just stop. Okay?
What is your favorite way to get horror? Do you like movies, books, audiobooks? Do you like in-person ghosts? What's the
Um,
best way?
I like books.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm a standing member of the book was better than the movie. Um, like I watched Jaws a lot when I was a kid.
Hmm.
I think at 14 I read the book.
I still haven't read it.
Liked the book better. I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but you won't like Ellen Brody in
Wow.
the book.
I
In
didn't
the
like him
book.
in the movie either, so.
Um, like I said, I mean, I've watched Salem's. I watched Salem's Lot before I read the book.
Oh, okay.
The book is a favorite of mine. That is like one of them. I would shake that man's hand 6 times over and tell him thank you.
Just for Salem's Lot?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for Salem's Lot and Night Shift and every other collection that you publish from here on in. You know,
Mm.
I love his collections.
Just of the short stories or just all of his work in general?
The
Stephen.
well, Salem's Lot would have to be my favorite standalone. Night Shift was actually where I started
Mm-hmm.
because I checked that book out when I was 12,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom lost her, flipped her lid, and my dad's like, Candy, you let him watch Freddy and Jason and all those bug movies, but you're going to lose it about this. No, and he gave me back the book and said, go read it.
And I bet it was that much better too.
And I mean, like I said, I'm starting to fall into audiobooks. I wish they did more 3D audio. Like if you listen to Stephen King's The Mist, if you look it up on YouTube, there's a 3D radio drama version of it.
Like an immersive sort of audio? Okay.
Yeah, like you can hear.
Yeah,
footsteps.
kind of like the podcast stories will do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a radio drama.
That's cool.
You know? And I'm starting to fall into radio dramas too. I'm starting to like those. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot.
There's one on YouTube called The Peoria Plague. That is like awesome.
Okay.
Trying to think here. But podcast, I think I have like maybe 6 or 7 podcasts on my Spotify. I finished one recently called The Occurrence in River Oaks.
I don't think I've heard that one.
Really uncanny. I mean, it's like, yeah, this one will probably be better than that movie we watched.
I'm sure all of them would be. Like, I literally think it was the worst one I've picked so far. Let's see, I asked you that one. What would you like to see more of in horror? What do you think is an untapped market or needs more written in it? What sort of subjects?
I think we need to dispel with the final girl, and I think we need to get more graphic. Now, I'm not saying like watch Jason Voorhees hold a woman up and gut her like a fish.
Right.
Okay. But I mean, one of the most animated deaths that I've ever watched when it comes to Jason is the woman in the sleeping bag.
Mm-hmm.
And from there on, I was like, Jason. I was just, I mean, boom. It's like Freddy's there, Michael Myers is there, but Jason is always up front. And I think we need to, back in the 80s, we didn't care about trigger warnings.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch Nightmare on Elm Street 3, when he sticks those needles into Taryn's arms, you know, there wasn't like somebody going, well, you know, I used to be an addict, so that's offensive. I understand that some things can trigger moments. Okay. I can, you know, I understand that, you know, rape scenes can trigger something in a person's mind and make them think about something that they're trying to forget. I totally get it. But I think we need to put more do away with dumb decisions.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to find out what this noise is over here.
In movies or in books?
I think in movies, they got to start making sense. They got to start giving a reason, like, oh, the dog got out, so I got to go chase the dog down. That, to me, would be a viable reason to run into Jason Voorhees. You're trying to get the dog. Jason stops you. And please put some clothes on. Please put some clothes on. That's all we ask.
I mean, but then how would you know who's going to die? You need some sort of warning system.
Yeah.
Always the naked ones. But to be fair, I think the final girl is effective when it's done from a point of power and not like a victim. I mean, yes, obviously they're victims, but my favorite is when all of that happens and it's more of like an empowerment sort of move at the end. So I'd be really sad if that part went away. But I think that movie ratings themselves actually have sort of trigger warnings, like, you know, rated R for rape, whatever. And those kind of served, I thought, as trigger warnings beforehand, but now people would just really like you to get very specific.
Because, I mean, back in the 80s, when Friday the 13th was on television, viewer discretion is advised. That's all we got.
It's a warning.
You know, that's a warning, like saying, hey, it's going to be graphic, but we're still going to cut it out of the movie.
I think the only movie I can think of where I wish I would have had a little warning was that scene in The Terrifier where he's got the girl upside down and he saws her in half. Because I was not expecting that, and I do not like that movie just specifically because of that scene. And the clown makes me so angry because there's no reason for him to be the way, or there probably is, but it's not expressed. And I hate when things are like that for no reason, because it's like it's a thing that makes me angry, but I'm sure that's why other people enjoy it.
It's one of those things where you're like, okay, why is he killing these people?
Right.
Like, you kind of knew, like, okay, why? How can I say this? Oh, damn. I had it right there. It was like, right. Yeah. Why is Straker in town in Salem's Lot? Why is he in Jerusalem's Lot? Barlow's on his way. Barlow's a vampire. He's going to infect the town. They're going to try to recruit in the city. They're going to try to take over this town. They're going to make the people vampires. You knew what they were going to do even before they got there. Even you're like, yeah, it's vampires. Guy's going to take. And to me, there's got to be something there. There's got to be. I'm not saying you have to tell me it's from outer space. You don't have to tell me it's from hell. You don't have to tell me it was a child's imagination. But what you got to do is tell me, why is it here? Why is he killing people? Why is Jason Voorhees killing people? Because he was left to drown.
Right.
Why is Freddy Krueger killing? Because he was a child molester who got away, and the parents got pissed and they burned him, so he swore revenge on them.
Right.
There's got to be a reason.
I can agree with that.
If there's no reason, you're not enveloped in the movie. You're not. So that's why he's killing him, because they burned him alive. You know.
Okay, what is the first horror movie you remember watching?
Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Number 2.
I think I was 7. No, I was 6. It was on really late at night, like 11:30. It didn't go off till almost 2, and I didn't tell anybody I was up. I snuck. I woke up but I went to bed that night and I slept like a baby. I didn't have one nightmare. I've watched Night of the Living Dead, the original one. No nightmares. for some reason, I watched The Beastmaster, and now I can't stand moo-moos. I talked to my grandma. I said, "Get rid of your moo-moos before I go back to see you."
That's an interesting fear. You've unlocked a strange fear in there. Tell us a little bit about your work. What do you got coming up? What do you got out right now?
Well, July 29th, 2024, Unveiling Nightmares will be publishing my short story collection, my second one, Strange Discovery and Other Strange Discoveries. It's got a few reprints. It's got some new ones. There's a splatter western. There's a sci-fi horror. There's bleak horror. There's it's, like I said, some strange discoveries. Like, imagine how, like, say, for example, you carved your initials into a tree. Now, let's say everybody else who carves on that tree, their initials show up on your skin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Be cheaper than tattoos.
I'm tattoo-less, so I wouldn't know.
Oh.
There's one about a meteor that crashes outside of a radio station, and it starts to, kill people. There's a supernatural one, but the ghost of a girl who was killed. She finds out who her attackers are. It's actually, if you've read my novella Dark Avenues, it's the girl from that movie and the three boys who killed her.
Oh, okay.
So I took them from that book and I put them into this novella and put them in this story. But there's a lot of stories in it. One called The Eternal Mr. Tremblay. It's about a guy who heals the sick and stays young. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good collection. What's it called again?
Strange Discovery and Other Strange Discoveries.
July 29th, right?
Yes.
And so that's probably on Amazon, I'm going to guess. Is there a pre-order up already?
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll link that on there. Where do people find your stuff? Is it on the Unveiling Nightmares website?
It's
Amazon?
On, Amazon.
Okay.
I'm also working on a 3-part, you could call them paranormal investigators, but they prefer to be called supernaturalist instead.
Okay.
And the first book is about a haunted forest. The second book will be about a haunted amusement park.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Yeah. And both of them will feature gay characters. Nice.
Yes. Need more of that.
Yes. The guy in the first book, he's gay. The woman in the second book, I'm still kind of tossing back and forth whether I want her to be a woman becoming a man or a man becoming a woman. I'm kind of like,
yeah.
I got to flip a coin on that one and see which one I want to do. I want to explore most. But then the third one, I thought about either a small town or a shopping mall.
Ooh, shopping mall.
That's cool. Because we grew up. I'm Gen X. We grew up in shopping malls when they were good. I
Lots of spooky stuff.
Yeah, and I'm working on some short stories. I'm trying to keep as not overwhelming myself as much as possible, though.
Well, it sounds like you're working on at least 4 to 5 things at one time. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is it easy for you to work on multiple stories all at the same time, or do you have to just work on one, finish, and then?
If I work on one book, I'll be like, okay, I know what's going to happen in this chapter, so I'll work on this short story, and then I'll go back to the book. So if I can, I think Douglas Clegg said it perfectly about cheating on your novels. He used to cheat on his novels by doing short stories. You know, he'd be in the middle of a book and he would do a short story, and I'd be like, you know, I gotta try that. See if I can at least juggle, you know, a novella and a short story. You know, with a short story, it's kind of like you're watching a 30-minute episode.
Mm-hmm.
With a novella, it's like, okay, I got to be engulfed in this for at least an hour, maybe even, you know, an hour, 20 minutes, you know, or at least, yeah, you know, when it comes, they all differ, you know. Short stories are like, boom, boom, done, you know, but you only have so long to get their attention, tell the story, and then end it, you know.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy the challenge of short stories. I like that quote that you said, taking a break from the novel to write a quick short story. I think it's when you can't get further at sometimes, I do like to go, switch over and try to work on a short story. That's a good quote. Did you have any other, let's see, you just told me the ones you're working on. Social media, people can find you on what?
They can find me on Facebook under Brian J. Smith.
Okay.
They can find me on Instagram under Horror Author 9. I'm on Threads under Horror Author 9.
There's so many now.
I'm sitting there going, okay, Blue Sky. What is Blue Sky? Should I get on Blue Sky? Okay, I'll try this Blue Sky, and I'm about ready to leave Blue Sky.
Are you on that one too?
Yeah, just under Brian J. Smith.
That's just the author one, right? Just for authors. I don't know what the point of that one is, but so we'll make sure.
I hardly ever use it.
Well, we'll link the Instagram and Facebook if you want that one linked on there, and then I'll also link your Amazon author page so that people can find the works that you will have and that you already have on there. So to finish us off, here are a few things this week that I have been reading and listening and all that are not a piece of shit. I read The Vermin Sleep by James Watgen and Frogs and Margaritas by Angel Ramon. I'm still working on that one. I did not see any movies that did not suck because this is the one I had to watch 3 times. So I got nothing. What do you got? What you been reading? What you been watching?
Well, I'm reading Tender is the Flesh.
Oh.
Yes, I'm reading that one. I finally got a hold of it. I'm like, yes.
That's a good one.
And I just finished Alice Isn't Dead by Joseph Fink.
Oh.
It's also a podcast, too.
Yeah. I've listened to that one. That's a good one.
I got Catronia Ward. She wrote Little Eve, Sundial, House on Needless Street.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think I might have said her name wrong.
I forgot the name.
The Looking Glass Sound.
Okay.
And then I finally got my hands on a Anna Enborn. She did Seed.
Oh, Anya Alborn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I say her name? I'm sorry.
I
got the one called The Devil Crept In.
Oh, I haven't read that one yet.
I was like, and I keep running into Darcy Coates. I think I've read one of her so far. I'm trying to look for a good one to complement that one. I'm like, okay, which one do I read after that one? And
That's
people give me like, well, read these 5. I'm like, look, I just need
just
one to complement.
Yeah.
I'm also I actually got the honor of ARC and Bentley Little's new book.
Wow.
Yes, I love Bentley
cool.
Little. That man is a master. If you have not read Bentley Little, I suggest you pick up the collection.
That's a classic.
And I'm reading his new one, and it's already, I think I'm already like 50 pages into it.
That's cool.
Yes.
I'm jealous. Hey, sorry about that. Okay. Alert. Someone's coming out the door. All right. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode's piece of shit and take your recommendations for future episodes. So you can email me at simmfwpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram under the same name and make recommendations. And please go out and watch shitty movies so that we can talk about them together. And thank you for being on the show, Brian.
Thank you for having me on, and I'll be back anytime you want. I'll watch another shitty movie.
We'll find a better one. All right. Bye.